My name is Beverly Bennett. I'm 85 years old. I grew up in Detroit, Michigan. I went to Brady School, Durfee Intermediate, Central High, and Wayne University, and I got a degree in teaching. I taught for several years, and then I started my family and retired from teaching. And then I worked in our family business, which were Hallmark card and gift shops, and I loved the business. We had 6 stores, and my husband's famous story was he said, "Marry me, and someday your name will be in lights," and it was called Bev's Hallmark, so his prediction came through. I was looking for something to do, and I came here to volunteer and eventually started buying for the gift shop, and it's been a very rewarding experience. I've been volunteering here for 14 years. I hope to volunteer as long as I'm in good health and I'm vertical because it makes me happy and makes my customers happy. I have 3 children, a daughter and 2 sons, and I have 8 grandchildren and 1 more soon. My family means the world to me, and I'm happy that they admire what I'm doing. I think everybody can make a difference if they try and they put their heart into it.
My name is Dr. Stuart Falk, and I am 85 years young. I was born in Chicago. Parents moved here. At age 10, World War II was going on. I was going to elementary school here in Detroit, and I was at Fresh Air Camp for the summer. And you had to write a postcard or a letter to get in for a meal. And I decided one time not to write to my parents. I wrote to President Roosevelt on a postcard. And I asked him if I could be a mascot of the United States Marine Corps. As a result, the postcard actually got to him, and they decided to fill me for Paramount newsreels. And this was all a PR, for the war. The lesson that I got from it was this: if you desire something, it can happen. And it's up to you to make it happen. It's always been important to be active in the community, and I attribute that to my mother, mainly because of the fact that she said you should never, ever just sit back and take. You should give of yourself. I think probably most of my activity has really been with the Holocaust Memorial Center Zuckelman Family Campus. Immediately upon retirement, I enlisted in the class to become a docent, which is a tour guide. I then became chairperson of the docent steering committee. And from there, I became a member of the board of trustees for the Holocaust Memorial Center. I just want people to know, as far as Stuart Falk is concerned, that he was a mensch and he did help the world. That's all.
My name is Margot Gardner, and I am 81 years old. I was born in Berlin. My mother was Hungarian, my father was German, and we left Berlin in November of 1939. And we came to Detroit because this is where my mother had a fairly wealthy uncle who was sponsoring my father and his family. I have to say that right from the beginning, my mother would go around, and I would go with her with a canister for the Jewish National Fund, and we would go door to door. I remember, being quite young, I think 6, 7 years old. I would go with her, and she was collecting money for Jewish National Fund, and that left a real impression on me. My most important volunteer work was pro-Israel advocacy, and education. I got involved with an organization called Stand With Us, which is a Israel advocacy and educational organization based on the truth, based on educating people about Israel. I hope that I have been able to get the truth out there so that readers can understand what is really going on in Israel, and that they will speak up, that Jewish people and non-Jewish people will speak up and be informed about Israel. That's what I hope I have achieved in some small way.
My name is Michael Weiss. I'm 92 years old. I was born in Czechoslovakia in 1924, November 9. In 1944, it was on a Saturday, day of Passover, and the law read, tomorrow each Jew has to leave their home and go to the schoolyard. The only thing they can take with them is what they can carry in their hands or on their backs. I am a survivor of the Holocaust, and my family, what we counted 51 family members, 2 cousins survived. I was an only child. But my wife had 9 brothers and sisters, and 1 sister survived, and they sent her to Detroit. And the 2 sisters wanted to be together, so we came to Detroit, and that's how we ended up in Detroit. And when I speak in the Holocaust to children, I tell them always, we do have problems, but you are the future of this wonderful country of ours. You have a big job ahead of you. The children are the future of our generation. The children will lead this country. These children will be the president of this country. This will be the generals of this country. And it's very important they should understand, they should know history, and there is no better history than to learn. And that's why I'm speaking. I'm 93 years old, but I'm speaking at least once a week in the Holocaust Center. The difference, what I hope I will make, like I said, it isn't much, but I hope that some of those children will listen to the history. And I'm looking, when I speak on them, they do listen. And hopefully they will learn that lesson, that awful lesson what happened in 1939 till 1945. And they will take it with them to school, to marriage, and teach it to their children and children's children.
My name is Eunice Corman Ring, and I'm 83. I grew up in Detroit in what I refer to as a ghetto because all I knew were Jewish people. I was one of 5 girls in my mother's family. I watched my parents lose 3 daughters, and watching how they handled their depth of grief and still kept the family together. They were strong, courageous, marvelous people. And I asked my mother, how on earth did you ever go through losing your children, these were grown daughters? And my mother said, I never look backwards, I only look forwards. That's a great lesson in life. It's very important for me to be involved in helping, whether it's the Jewish community or the NAACP or the school system or the political parties. It's very important for me to be involved. It's wonderful to be able to try and make a difference wherever the need is. My greatest accomplishment in life is my family. And to see Lador Vador, generation after generation of good people, just gives me such joy. It's my greatest accomplishment. In this world, everybody gets their share of trouble, problems, sad times. And the one thing that I wanted to do was emulate my parents' courage and their optimism. To them, life was to live, and that was inspirational, and it's something that I want to do. I want to make an impact on the people around me, a good impact, and to show my family that no matter what, we can do it, we can handle it, we can get through it.
My name is Evelyn Orbach, and I'll be 85 in July. I was born in New York City, in the Jewish Maternity Hospital on the Lower East Side, and it was the Depression. I was the youngest child, and my mother passed away when she was 42, and I was 6 and a half. I went to Camp Archa because I had nobody to take care of me at home. My mother had died, so they sent me off every summer somewhere, usually we were all very poor in those days, but the man who was head of the drama was now the director. And so every summer he would bring a couple of scripts to try out, and he started a city thing so that he would produce a play for children, for the schools, and bring all the schools from all around, all the Jewish schools. When I was 11, I found out about, I was invited by this man who was the director of the camp to come and audition. And he always gave me a part. Sometimes he gave me 3 parts. And the thing that was marvelous about it is that it was really a professional company. I could not stop. And that's all I wanted. And I went to the High School of Performing Arts, which is the famous Fame High School. It seemed to me that theater could do something very wonderful for the world. The theater has a platform. The theater has a performance, and they have an audience, an arena, a pedestal to speak from, and people to find out about things. And I thought theater can be a bridge of understanding. I started the Jewish Ensemble Theater. It took me 3 years to get to the first full production. We're in their 28th season finishing of this theater and productions. And that was a miracle. I love theater because you can involve yourself so thoroughly in some place you have never been. It took a lot of people, more than me, to make something happen. But I was determined. That's my story.
I'm Dr. Bob Matthews. I'm 81 years old. I grew up in Northwest Detroit, actually 3 blocks from Mumford High School on Wisconsin Avenue. Lived there for many, many years before the family moved to Southfield. Went to the local schools, Bagley Post-Intermediate School, was in the first graduating class at Mumford High School. Went to Wayne State University, got a Bachelor of Science in Biology, then to the University of Michigan, where I obtained a DDS degree. Perhaps my first lesson in Tikkun Olam occurred when I was about 7 years old. A strange young man appeared on our doorstep one day, and I learned that he was a distant cousin of my mom's. He moved in with us. We shared a bedroom together, and he ultimately became my big brother. The first catalyst for me getting involved with the community was from my observing my own family. I had an elderly first cousin who in 1999 took ill. Up to that point, Emery was a vibrant, athletic, independent gentleman. Played tennis until his early 80s. Once he lost his independence and was forced to move into a nursing home, he lost his spirit and his will to live. He passed away within a month. That was a real shock. By contrast, my mother, who was 9 years older than Emery, with my assistance, was living a very independent, positive quality of life. The contrast between the two made me start thinking, what can I do to help the elderly? And that was the start. I decided that to form the Matthews Family Foundation to provide in-home support for the seniors in the Jewish community. The primary goal of what I'm trying to do is to allow the elderly to live with independence and dignity in the comfortable and familiar surroundings of their own homes for as long as they can, enhance the quality of their life, and perhaps even prolong their life in some instances. History has a tendency to repeat itself. In essence, they've been where we would like to go, and if we follow their footsteps in the right direction, we'll end up at the goals that we'd like to achieve as well.
I'm Elaine Greenberg, and I'm 81 years old. I was born in Minneapolis to a very loving, large Jewish family who became very philanthropic as my uncles got older and became very successful. I had a wonderful Bubby, who I keep saying, I'm going to write a book about her. I adored her. She taught me a great deal. You can express yourself so beautifully in any form of art. Music was mine. It can bring back memories. It can make or break a feeling, an emotion. There was just never anything, there was no doubt in my mind that music was always going to be a part of my life. I couldn't live without it. Putting children and music together, watching their faces, watching them grow, whether it was in choir and learning the music, whether it was teaching them to sing privately, my passion, or teaching them piano, to watch them grow, to watch music grow through a child's eyes, and how they'd come for lessons with a smile. On January 10th, 2000, I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And I knew that my music would play a very large role, as it did. I also knew that I was going to live. I was determined to live. I was going to do the best I could as far as my attitude. So I began to work with a wonderful pianist. We did a program called The Healing Power of Music, and I put together music that was appropriate to my story, and I had song sheets so that people, they almost always upbeat, not always, but most of the songs are upbeat. And I was singing to other survivors, and it had to be happy music. And then I became involved in a program called Survivors Teaching Students. We speak to future health professionals. We want these students to know what our lives have been through and our families, what happens with a cancer diagnosis. It's a really good feeling, as you know, when you've done something and you've made a difference in this world, especially to the young people. I'm very proud of the work that I do. These are my passions. Music, children, surviving cancer, helping somebody else. It means I've made a difference in the world. And I think that's a wonderful legacy to leave.
My advice would be, if you feel strongly about something, do something.
You'll never get poor by giving.
Learn history and never forget.
Never give up hope. Be grateful for what you have.
There is such nachas from doing something and feeling that you have committed something good.
If you really want to do something and you think it's a good thing to do, study up you can as much as you can and open your heart and just do it.
Giving is my reward. That's what I'd like to, forward to the next generation.
Religion is not what you think. Religion is what you do.